And we will go. Here we go. Hello, everyone. I'm Kim Snyder. I'm the statewide director of teacher and principal support at the Nebraska Department of Education. And I'd like to thank you for joining my esteemed colleagues and me today as we talk about one of the newly revised Nebraska teacher and principal performance standards. I'll have my colleagues introduce themselves now.
Hi everyone, I'm Ellie Fields and I'm a former high school student from Harvard Public Schools.
Hi, I'm Michelle Helt, a third grade teacher in South Sioux City and the 2018 Nebraska Teacher of the Year.
Hi everybody, I'm Julie Downing. I'm a staff developer at ESU 13 and I also work in partnership with NDE in the Office of Educator Effectiveness.
Hello everyone, I'm Mike Tion. I'm in Educational Administration here at the University of Nebraska at Kearney.
Hello everyone, I am Tawana Grover, Superintendent of Grand Island Public Schools.
Hi, I'm Charity Labrie, a principal with Grand Island Public Schools.
The teacher and principal performance standards are serving as the foundation for a much broader educator effectiveness system that will focus on a shift in how Nebraska supports and develops its teachers and principals. The standards are rooted in two primary themes, equity and data-based decision-making, which will become visible through a common language of expectations, a better understanding of the knowledge and skills necessary to be effective teachers and principals in Nebraska, a commitment to staff support and development, and a focus on family and community engagement. The standard that we're going to talk about now is the principal standard, culture for learning. And Charity, since you're the principal of this crew, I'll have you start talking about it as I share my screen.
Perfect. The first thing that comes to mind is the power of creating an environment where students and staff can grow and learn and focus their efforts in a unified direction, student success.
When I first think of the learning environment and the culture, I think of a positive atmosphere where members in the school system are feeding off of and learning from one another.
The standard reads, the principal, as an instructional leader, cultivates and nurtures an inclusive, caring, and supportive learning environment that promotes the academic success and well-being of each member of the educational community.
Indicator A states a principal is consistently visible in the school and community, leads efforts to create and sustain a safe and healthy learning environment of respect and rapport based on clear guidelines for appropriate behavior, and addresses student and staff conduct in a positive, fair, unbiased manner.
It is imperative that a principal is embedded in every decision, every aspect of the school community, and is constantly guiding the environment towards growth. When all voices are valued and decisions are made in the best interest of the learning community, a productive environment will follow. Principals must hold those in their care to the standard of respect and build rapport with all school community members. So school is a safe place for all members.
Effective superintendents work alongside the Board of Education to set the tone for learning and growth. When district leaders are actively engaged in the learning process, it demonstrates a sense of vulnerability and expectation for themselves, for school leaders, staff, and the community. The principals are the greatest recipients of this modeling as culture brokers for teachers, students, and families. They lead to ensure guidelines promote healthy environments where students and adults flourish.
ESUs work in relationship with school administrators to support healthy learning environments through modeling, leadership, and professional development.
Indicator B states, an effective principal articulates a vision that defines a student-centered culture and creates and sustains school conditions that ensure equitable access to learning and development opportunities for each student, staff member, and self.
The superintendent leads the visioning process and is responsible for ensuring that principals are active participants in the development of goals that promote equity for students. Principals need the tools and space to reveal the quantitative and qualitative insights about students in order to articulate the resources and support necessary to create the best possible conditions for learning for all learners.
To lead a student-centered culture, effective principals involve students in the visioning process. The conversations, decisions, and opportunities are focused on student needs. Effective principals enable the whole school community to better understand their role and influence on student progress. The school team is more engaged in the improvement process, can ask difficult questions to identify gaps in student opportunities, and then can better identify solutions.
The culture for individual school buildings lands squarely on the shoulders of the principal leading the staff within the building. A principal I know creates a student-centered school culture by keeping this question, what would I want for my own children, at the heart of every decision made within the school. If we approach education by always doing what we would want done for our own children, nieces, nephews, and grandchildren, ensuring equitable access to learning will be a natural outcome.
Indicator C states, an effective principal implements a systematic process using multiple sources of relevant data to provide a layered continuum of support to meet the academic, physical, social, emotional, and mental health needs of each student.
Creating a system of two-way communication around meeting the needs of each student group is so important to student success. Principals must be able to hear and identify areas of the school that are struggling to best meet the needs and areas that are excelling at meeting students' needs. A principal must determine the best course of action and how to address the various needs of each student.
Effective superintendents build data relevance by asking strategic questions. These questions are developed by a robust data collection process that pulls in responses aligned to the components of the school improvement process. This allows principals to identify multiple measures representing the wide-ranging needs of students and then direct support to the principals based on the findings. As district leaders, we have to be willing to let go of a generalized focus to a more individualized approach in order to reach the level of equity we desire for each student.
Teachers in principal preparation programs come from very different backgrounds when it comes to analyzing and utilizing data as it applies to continuous improvement and in meeting the various needs of students. Thus, it is imperative that the principal preparation programs expose students to districts with diverse student backgrounds and specific needs.
Indicator D states an effective principal supports protocols and practices that provide collaboration time among staff, cultivating mutual respect, collegiality, and collective responsibility for meeting student and staff goals.
An effective superintendent goes beyond communicating the vision to principals and is able to empower principals to be instructional leaders. This is done by creating a systematic process of collaboration and feedback. This ultimately provides principals an avenue to better understand the instructional vision of the district and effectively communicate the challenges schools face. When superintendents cultivate an environment of purposeful and meaningful collaboration, the district can move towards achieving its mission.
Creating a schedule or system that supports the goals of the school is key to ensuring those goals happen. What you give time and attention to speaks volumes about your beliefs. When systems are in place to support staff's ability to collaborate, it allows devoted time to understand the needs of the students as a whole and as individuals.
Through leadership, support, and advocacy, ESUs work with schools to support their mission, vision, values, and goals. It is a unique and vital component to leverage best practice in a way that allows for local control and autonomy.
Indicator E states an effective principal promotes high expectations and mutual accountability, recognizes successes of students and staff, and uses multiple sources of relevant data to monitor the climate and culture of the educational community.
Accountability has to be owned by all stakeholders. Effective principals are able to communicate the vision so that all can understand the role they play in achieving the mission. When staff understand their role and the value of their engagement, They're able to hold themselves to high expectations and don't need to rely on others to hold them accountable. This allows for genuine recognition of success and finding value in feedback when support is needed.
Being able to set high expectations is an expectation of any effective leader. By bringing data to the forefront, superintendents are able to push principals and challenge them to improve and key in on very specific indicators. Superintendents ultimately are responsible to utilizing the data to paint the picture of the district and highlight progress and improvement.
The climate and culture within a school requires a delicate balance between maintaining high expectations and holding everyone within the school to those expectations, while also recognizing and celebrating the successes of students and staff. An effective principal knows when the morale of students and staff need a boost and will acknowledge the great happenings within the school, either individually or as a whole. On the other hand, a principal also notices when students and/or staff are becoming complacent and not maintaining high standards. To this, the principal will encourage, support, and engage in meaningful conversations and activities.
Indicator F states an effective principal models cultural competence and responsiveness and collaborates with the educational community to create, implement, and sustain systemic instructional protocols and practices that confront and eliminate institutional bias and student marginalization.
Confronting and eliminating institutional bias and students' marginalization requires an unwavering commitment from the superintendent. The work has to be further led by the building principals. As superintendents, we can help our principals by training them and expecting them to identify bias and systemic injustice that exists within our organizations. Every educator deserves the opportunity to see how the inequities are manifested and be supported through policy, professional development, and practices to create a more inclusive culture where traditionally marginalized students have access and opportunity to achieve. Exposing inequities through data is the first step to understanding there are students behind each number that has their own individual story, and our actions help to shape the next and future chapters of their narrative.
Effective principals understand that in order to meet the needs of every student, they must address bias and any systemic barriers to equity. This only happens when principals understand their own identity and biases that exist. When a principal truly values and includes each student in decision-making, it sets the precedence for the whole school community. By modeling inclusivity, principals can address these biases towards marginalized students and advocate for students with whom institutional bias may exist.
Students are more diverse than ever, and educators must recognize diversity within their schools and communities. Principal preparation programs need to focus on enhancing cultural awareness through opportunities for self-reflection. If not, we waste a powerful opportunity to build a teaching workforce that is committed to eliminating bias and the marginalization of students. Principals identify their most closely held beliefs and how they allocate their time.
Indicator G states an effective principal recognizes diversity as an asset and creates and sustains a learning environment in which all students, staff, and community members are known, accepted, valued, trusted, and respected, and encouraged to be active and responsible members of the school community.
Principals must be open to all students and staff groups under their care. At times, that means learning and adjusting one's personal beliefs or the willingness to listen and learn from others. Learning and leading go hand in hand when developing respectful relationships with all in the school community. Demonstrating genuine care and concern for others is another indicator of valuing those in the school community.
Embracing diversity is demonstrated when we have processes and systems in place to meet the diverse needs of the student population and platforms where cultural uniquenesses of students inform our curriculum, our offerings, and opportunities, giving all students a chance to experience the richness of their school community and further broadening their horizon by allowing everyone to be givers and receivers of the appreciation for heritage. Principals are able to cultivate and sustain unity and diversity by engaging all stakeholders in order to best represent the community in which he or she will serve.
Because ESUs are regionally located in Nebraska, they are able to provide a personal connection to the districts they serve through needs assessment and service. This level of service connects research, best practice, and local needs in supportive learning.
Indicator H states an effective principal utilizes and promotes the cultural, social, and intellectual resources of the community.
At times, principals must creatively approach the needs of their school and students. Reaching out for community resources is one way of doing this. Connecting families to support or the community to students needing support is an important way principals bridge the gap for their students.
Principals are indeed key connectors to the community and can create direct lines to parents. It's important to build on those relationships by engaging to understand the broader perspectives of the community. Superintendents are uniquely positioned to help extend leadership into the community in which they serve by being accessible and actively listening in order to understand the unique and diverse needs of all involved, and helping to translate those findings into key actions to inform a more relevant leadership agenda for campus principals anchored with systems of support based on the needs of the school community.
After listening to this conversation, I realize how truly vital it is to create a culture for learning that positively impacts all members of the school community. A principal should not only implement this type of learning, but should also be a role model in choosing to be an active participant in establishing and maintaining this type of environment. Students and community members can recognize when their administration has not only put in the necessary work, but values the culture that is apparent. An example of when a positive culture for learning is taking place is having all people participate and have a voice in decisions that involve the school. I think to some degree, a student's voice is essential in giving insight to things that go on inside the school building. Oftentimes, students know more about what goes on in the classroom from a day-to-day basis than the principals. And I think having an environment where students' voices are not only recognized, but valued will create a type of success in the school system that is rarely seen.
I'd like to again thank all of my colleagues for joining me, and I'd like to thank all of you for joining us as we got the Culture for Learning standard out there for you to listen to. If you have any questions, you may contact me at this email address. Thank you, everybody.